Here's a quick walkthrough of how to make the perfect passive in Latin. And if you notice some blue on my face, well, you might get the blooper reel later, in which Tauntaun knocks over some paint. So I'm going to go to the presenting mode here so you can see this window. And if you remember when we first talked about principal parts, I said that the first two are used for anything that is an ongoing action. So your present tense, your future tense, and the imperfect tense. Your third and fourth are used for the perfect, the pluperfect, and the future perfect, any of the tenses that denote a completed and finished action. So basically things that are perfect in the sense that they are finished, completed, they're not ongoing. So the perfect passive is kind of your default simple past tense in the passive here. So just like devoravi would be I devoured, if I say devorata sum, that means I was devoured. So the fourth principal part here, this is basically your perfect passive participle in Latin. It's the equivalent of the ed form in English here. And you also might notice that the perfect passive looks rather like English here, where you have your participle and you have a form of to be. So this is the case where it's the most like English. Now remember also your perfect passive participle is really devoratus a So this is masculine, feminine, and neuter. And if you remember when you had Latin 1, with me at least, I probably said at 1 or 2 points that verbs don't usually have gender. This is the case where it actually works its way in. So if I'm talking about myself and I was devoured by moles or something, then devoratus sum. If you think about this very literally, I am having been devoured. So I was devoured. You would never really say I am having been devoured. That makes very little sense. But if you were a guy and you were devoured, you would say devoratus es. You were devoured. And if he was devoured, devoratus est. So similarly, we go down here to the plural. If we were all devoured by moles, then devora he. If we're all guys or we're a mixed gender group, sumus, we'd have we were devoured. If you all were, well, devorati estis, and if they were devoured, devorati sunt. And so really all you have to do is take your fourth principal part here, devoratus aum, figure out what gender your subject is, and then apply sum es est, sumus estis sunt, and make sure you switch from singular to plural with your participle. And these can only ever be in the nominative because they're describing the subject. So you're never going to have like devorato sum or anything like that. That just wouldn't make sense. So let's say we were being destroyed though, and we want to try out a different gender. Well, all you do is, deleta sum. If you did that, I was destroyed. Same thing, if you go down here in the plural, you'd have deletai sumus. We were destroyed. And you could also do neuter as well. So all you have to do to make your perfect passive is to just take your participle, figure out the gender, and add sum es est, sumus estis sunt. If you're wondering what the different conjugations have to do with it, the answer is basically nothing. You just take whatever the heck this is, whether it's devoratus, deletus, ductus, coptus, auditus, figure out the gender, the number if it's singular or plural, and then pick the right form of sum es est, sumus estis sunt. The conjugations can help you predict what the fourth principal part is going to look like, but you don't need anything else to do with that. They all work exactly the same way. Just take your fourth principal part, add sum es est, sumus estis sunt, and you are set.